T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi everybody, and happy Wednesday to you. Hubba, 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 as Rush Limbaugh would say. I'm Graham Ledger. You can reach me via YouTube on the chat column, which is just to the right if you're watching on YouTube. I put a little welcome in there, or no I didn't. Let me do it right now. Let's chat at you. I just said yo. Yo. As in yo mama. Or in Rockies, yo. Yo Adrian. Yo to you, and yo to Donald Trump and all 316 million Americans. I always try and subtract the 30 or 40 million illegals out there, as Donald Trump is now trying to do, subtract them from our landscape, which is a beautiful thing. I want to get to that. I want to get to this whole notion of expanding the sphere of influence of the United States in the Western Hemisphere and beyond. Remember, we have a heck of a legacy. It's called the Monroe Doctrine and beyond, of not only protecting the Western Hemisphere, but building it out. That's how we got Louisiana, as my ex-wife used to say. We got Louisiana from the Louisiana Purchase, which included a lot of other property other than just Louisiana. So there's that to talk about, the U.S. aid, USAID, Elon Musk. I mean, it's hard to keep track. And I keep track of Donald Trump, various sources, and one of them is on Telegram, and it's not a bad way to keep track of what's going on. They don't always post exactly real time on Telegram. Donald Trump's people don't, but it's a great way to kind of see inside his mind and the way he thinks, and his reaction to, say, for example, Canada and Mexico and the tariff move and things like that, because these are things extrapolated from different areas of President Trump, whether it's from the Resolute desk or whether it's from Truth Media, all kind of amalgamated into one area. So please chat at me right here on the YouTube channel. If you want to send me an email, you can, of course, at grahamledger411@gmail, grahamledger411@gmail.com. I have this, I can't get out of my head right now, this image of a Trump Tower right there on Gaza. You know, Gaza, not unlike Lebanon, is pretty prime real estate, right there in the Mediterranean. Um, it's just, I was just watching Benjamin Netanyahu as Donald Trump was going on and on and on about how we can give the Palestinians some place to live that's not all bombed out and burned out and wired with explosives and tunnels and traps and booby traps and all that kind of stuff. And he says, "Oh, what? I think the United States should own it." Donald Trump said that, and Netanyahu just kind of looked down. I mean, he's cracking up. What better buffer zone for Israel than the United States being in charge of the Gaza Strip and building? I could just see a Trump National Tower, Trump Tower, 40, 50, 60 stories right there, right on the water. And then, of course, like 12 golf courses surrounding it, maybe a casino, maybe he'll get Jim Wynn. Sorry, that is a old baseball name. If you remember, if anybody remembers the Dodgers, Jim Wynn, they used to call him the toy cannon. The Wynn Hotels. Imagine if we had a couple of Wynn casinos out. I mean, you could just imagine what it would be. You talk about a Mecca. There's your Mecca, Middle East. It's going to be run by the United States. Can you imagine if Donald Trump were able to secure something like this during his brief administration? And let's face it, it is brief. And then when a Democrat president inherits it, what do? Shut it down? We're going to shut it down? Imagine if Donald Trump can win back the Panama Canal. It looks like things are at least gravitating away from communist China, which, you know, I remember when I first heard that years ago that China struck a deal with the country of Panama. I said, holy cow. And Richard writes to me, he suggests, let's make Panama a U.S. state, problem solved. Well, you could. Under the Monroe Doctrine, which is now being revamped and expanded by Donald Trump, I think we have to call this the Trump Doctrine. Monroe was building out a country. Donald Trump is trying to revive a country and protect a country. Isn't it fascinating? So we had the Monroe Doctrine of, 200 years ago, and now we have the Trump Doctrine in 2025 trying to effectively restart the Monroe Doctrine as well as build upon it. So yeah, Richard, make U.S. state number 51 Panama. I guess we could. I don't think we need to. I think what we need to do is just put the pedal to the metal like Donald Trump is doing and remind Panama where it gets probably most of its money. And I don't know what the numbers are with Panama, but certainly they're charging us a lot of money to move our ships through the Panama Canal. And why would the Saint Jimmy Carter allow us not to have a deal in perpetuity if you're going to give away the Panama Canal, which was maybe one of the greatest blunders in American history, U.S. history? Why wouldn't you, as part of the deal, say we can move our commercial and private, we can move any U.S. flagged ship through the Panama Canal in perpetuity for 0 cents? Why wouldn't you do something like that? If you're going to allow Panama to run the canal and you're going to abdicate our overlording it, why wouldn't you strike a sweetheart deal? Why would you allow Panama, who's not an enemy, but they're out for themselves as they should be. Panamanians should care about Panama. And so in the end, they're going to charge a lot of money for U.S. ships, and that's what's happening now. And Donald Trump doesn't like it, and I don't think it's a good thing for the United States. And I think we can undo it. So it's I just keep flashing back to this news conference where Trump and Netanyahu are standing side by side, and And then Netanyahu just keeps looking down and kind of cracking a smile as Donald Trump continues to talk about building out Gaza. And, moving the Palestinians to Egypt or Jordan or what have you, great, fine, whatever. I would worry, though, that once a terrorist, always a terrorist, and that Egypt or Jordan or whatever country takes them, they would allow them to fester and foster and grow and build, and so they can launch attacks on Israel from wherever they are. I think the greatest thing in the world would be to split up the cockroaches that they are, the terrorist wing of the Palestinians, Hamas. And how do you separate the terrorists from the good people? I don't know. So move them. I think this is a brilliant idea. I think that it's probably driving liberals crazy, and it's fun to watch that. And I check my social media regularly among the liberal. I use the word friends in quotes, air quotes, because they're not friends, but they're my quote friends on Facebook or what have you, and I see their posts, and they're losing their mind. They're absolutely losing their mind. One colleague of mine just keeps posting things that are completely irrelevant to the big picture. For example, Greenland. She is posting how Denmark is making fun of Donald Trump. Okay, so how is that relevant to effectively improving the lifestyle of the folks who are in Greenland and perhaps having better relations with Greenland, the United States, and that country, or that it's a country, but it's under the control of Denmark. But it's just completely, this is the way they handle Donald Trump. They focus on his hair. They focus on Melania. They focus on his children. They focus on, look, he slipped, or look what he said by mistake, or just these little minute stupid things that have nothing to do with the big picture, like trying to reduce the size and scope of government, trying to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. And by shutting down, at least temporarily, U.S. aid, USAID, you're doing exactly all those things. You're reducing the size and scope of government, and you're reducing waste, fraud, and abuse, because we've seen now countless examples of waste, fraud, and abuse. Elon Musk posted something, I put it on my Facebook here just the other. Oh, by the way, just for the record, I also on my social media, I posted this report out of Breitbart that Hamas tortured and executed members of its legion suspected of being gay and having gay relations. These are the people. Now remember. Now think back. You see these people in Washington, D.C. with these Hamas headbands on. These are the same people who are screaming for LGBTQ rights, right? Supporting Hamas and supporting LGBTQ are mutually exclusive. I got a bulletin for you. They're mutually exclusive. You can't support them both, because either you're ignorant or you're a hypocrite. Do you understand, you liberal Marxists out there, that Hamas is executing people for simply being gay? And imagine if they were wrong and they executed some. It's unbelievable. But Elon Musk, oh, by the way, I posted this video of this picture of a cat. And I don't know if this has been doctored in the world of AI, but it's a cat watching the debate with Kamala and Trump, and when President or candidate Trump was saying that they're eating the cats, and this as soon as Trump says they're eating the cats, this cat lunges at the flat screen, crashes into the flat screen. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And again, I don't know if that's been manipulated. I just can't imagine it was manipulated. But I mean, this cat, as soon as Trump says they're eating the cats, it's just incredible. So here's Elon. Did you know that USAID, using your tax dollars, funded bioweapon research, including COVID-19, that killed millions of people? Unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so What has the Trump administration done with USAID? Well, it shut down the website, we know that, and it has told the workers that, hey, you're on leave indefinitely. And good, this is a start. This is a start. Because Anna from Georgia writes to me via grahamledger411@gmail.com. She writes, I'm a huge Trump supporter and agree with solidifying his changes for good. I worry about that and wish he would do it. This was my previous Ledger Register question. Is President Trump going to be able to permanently make changes to the federal government? Well, I just saw a couple of things that I think maybe are putting us in the right direction for something like that to be taking place. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I'm not a huge fan of, I just, style to me means things. I also care about results, absolutely. I'm not one of those government process people. Process is more important than results. No, I care about both. That's why when I'm on television, I'm in front of a camera, I try and respect you by dressing decently well. It's style along with the end product. Hopefully they're both decent. But Green is going to introduce legislation that will abolish USAID. So US aid would be abolished, wiped out. See you later. Bye-bye. There's no reason to even have it. It's just another government agency that we don't need. So she's going to do this bill. I hope they're separate. And the other thing she's going to do is establishing English as the national language. Now, that is important, English as a national language. I'll get into that in just a minute. But this is what I have been harping on. What Donald Trump has been doing, President Trump right now, in the executive orders and slashing things and getting rid of things and firing people and getting people laid off or trying to have buyouts, trying to reduce the size and scope of the federal government's workforce, which, the media will say, it's only 1 million people. 1 million people? Okay. Well, if we can reduce it by 20%, then it'll be 800,000 people. And then if we can reduce it another 20% and another 20%, then maybe we can get this thing cut down to size. So you got to start somewhere. And these cuts are good, but they're not permanent. Eliminating an entire department or agency like USAID, USAID, is exactly what needs to happen here to make these changes permanent. It is the creation of Congress, USAID, USAID. It's the creation of Congress. Congress created it. The president didn't. Under our Constitution, Congress created it. Only Congress can eliminate it. So hopefully we have some rhino Republicans who can grow a spine, like the Speaker of the House, who probably doesn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene on personal levels, which should have no bearing on bringing up this legislation, by the way. Hopefully he'll grow his spine once in a while. Donald Trump's got to remind him, hey, you got a spine back there. You got to use it. And so hopefully he will do it in this case. Get rid of it. We don't need it. We have overlapping agencies anyway. I guarantee you there's like State Department's got its own version of the USAID and doing things that we don't even know about, wasting our tax dollars. So hopefully this is maybe the first step of many in terms of permanent changes. So remember, if USAID is eliminated by Congress and all those workers go bye-bye, not only are we saving money and reducing the size and scope of government, but we've made a permanent change that only Congress can bring it back. Now, I'm not going to say that the next iteration of Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries, if he gets in power and he's Speaker of the House, is not going to try and resuscitate it. Oh, they will. But this is the process in our country. And we could permanently eliminate it, hopefully, forever. We'll see. And maybe we'll never see forever. The other half of her plan, making English as the official language, is vitally important. Vitally important. In areas like Dearborn, Michigan, and other areas of Michigan, I'm hearing are no-go zones effectively for police department, which is crazy, and it shouldn't be happening in this country. And also, of course, in parts of Minnesota, I'm hearing the same thing is going on. These enclaves that are Muslim, which is a whole nother story. The whole ideology of Islam is not compatible with the United States Constitution. I'm sorry, it's not. Yes, we have freedom of religion, but we don't have freedom to impose an ideology, because Islam is not a religion, it's an ideology. We have one ideology ostensibly in this country, and it's called a constitutional republic, or a representative republic, as governed by our governing and founding documents, the United States Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. There's another area of this country that I'm just as alarmed about. And I've spoken of this before, and I don't hear anybody talking about it except me. And that is Miami, and the slow creep north from Miami. Look, you live in Miami, there's nowhere else to go to Key West, but in terms of the migration of the population, it's going to go north, and it's happening into Fort Lauderdale, etc. And that is no English-spoken people, Spanish, Cubans primarily, in Miami. That is not acceptable. That is not acceptable. When you come to our country, you are to accept our culture and our language. If I moved to Cuba, if I ever moved to Cuba, I would learn Spanish, and I wouldn't speak my Spanglish. I would try and have no más muy poco español, okay? I don't know how to say it, see, but I would say it in my broken Spanglish. Más grande español parla señor LEGGER. So that's what I speak down when I'm in Mexico. And same thing, if I moved to Mexico, I would learn Spanish. At least I would try, because it's their country. Yes, English as the official language, and then that would give it teeth. For the police department or the local municipalities to go into Dearborn or in Miami and say, I don't know if Miami can police itself. I think it's got to be the governor of the state of Florida, and I don't think he has the political spine to do it. Sorry. Because he could be doing it right now. Hey, Miami, we need to start addressing this problem. It's a problem, okay? I have a friend who, when we were covering a Trump rally for Marco Rubio in 2022, we went down to Miami, and he got in an Uber. He met us there. He was a photographer, and he got in the Uber, and the guy didn't speak any English, and he dropped him off at the wrong place, and it affected what we were doing for the broadcast. Well, that's not good. Solamente habla español, no bueno. Okay, it's not good. So, and then there's a security aspect of this, and national security, but also just a regular governance security. Let's say, for example, there's a police officer, and there's an event where the police officer is telling you, hey, you need to pull over to the right, or pull over to the left, or stop your car, or whatever. You don't speak English. How are you going to comply with what the police officer is telling you to do? Not that you've done anything wrong, but you need to be able to understand what the cop is saying. So English only, yes. Absolutely. The other half of this is, when you allow Miami to speak solamente español, or you allow Dearborn and these places in Minnesota to be Sharia law, basically, and who knows what languages, there's Arabic or what have you, they're speaking there, you are balkanizing this country. We are the United States. We are united by a common language and a culture and a border that's being revitalized and revamped and secured, hopefully. Knock on wood. So when you allow multiple languages, doesn't mean you can't celebrate Chinese New Year, or you want to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, which is not even the Mexican Independence Day. That Mexican Independence Day is September. That's fine. You're Italian, you want to bake some lasagna? Sure, I do it all the time. But I'm all cross-cultured. I just made some stir-fried vegetable with chicken. And I'm not Chinese. I promise you, I'm not Chinese. So I like to celebrate all the cultures. But we are one culture in the United States of America. You will speak English, just like we have one tender. What's the difference between the greenback, the tender, the money that we use, and speaking English? There's none. They both galvanize who and what we are as American citizens. Imagine if you tried to start using a Mexican peso in Iowa. Well, why aren't you taking it? Same thing. The only difference is it's in the United States Constitution. Language is not in, whatever language spoken is not in the Constitution, although it should be. And maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene can get a constitutional amendment. I think you need a constitutional amendment. I don't trust Congress with this one. But you can start. You can start with legislation, turn it into a constitutional amendment, and circulate to the states. And hopefully we get 2/3 of the states to say yes. I don't expect California or Oregon or Washington or even Illinois to be on board, but I think we could get 2/3 or 3/4 of the states, 2/3 and then 3/4. So those two are potential permanent changes, and that's what we need. Judy writes, oh, by the way, on GrahamLedger.com, the new Ledger Register is, are you happy that President Trump is following through with tariffs, or are you concerned about a tariff war? Personally, I think it's wonderful he's following through. I know there's a lot of people in the media that are saying that oh, well, Mexico was sending 10,000 troops to the border anyway, and Canada was going to try and eradicate the fentanyl anyway. You know, I mean, this is all such. It's just like a liberal to pick apart. Maybe both of those statements are true, but they're missing the bigger picture. Donald Trump is using the leverage of tariffs to bring these people to the table. It's not about just getting troops sent to the border from Mexico, and it's not just about the fentanyl war from Canada, even though, and that's the other thing the mainstream media points out, 1% of our fentanyl comes from Canada. Okay, well, you know what I would say to that? If we can stop 1%, I'm happy with that. I want to stop the 99% remaining. Yes, absolutely. But why wouldn't you want to stop 1%? Okay? But the bottom line is they're missing the big picture. Donald Trump is driving Canada and Mexico to the table. Oh! Judy writes, what is the status of someone who was brought to America from Mexico as a child and mother left him here? Obviously Judy has one person that she knows. He's 30 years old and such a good hard worker. Will President Trump allow him to stay here and get citizenship or a green card? Well, here's I have a hardline stance on this, Judy. It's probably not what you want to hear. Let's say somebody walks into your house through the back door and just sits down and starts watching TV on your couch. You gonna be okay with that? And they stay and they don't leave. And they're good, they clean up, and they're months and years later, but they're still an uninvited guest, right? I know this is an outlandish example, but bear with me. Because there's a process for someone to come to your house. And it is, A, you probably want to know who they are first before you let them inside, right? However deeply you want to know them. You want to do a background check. You want to know them for years. You want to know that they're with Roto-Rooter or the air conditioning company. You want to trust them. And then you let them in. That's called a proper procedure to a proper end. Sometimes procedures matter. You know, in the federal government, all they care about is procedure. They don't care about the outcome. We're trying for both here. And so the procedure, to me, the procedure is just as important as the outcome. And so if this hardworking, 30 years old, never been in trouble, illegal, still illegal, I'm sorry, we can come up with a program that sends that person back, at least symbolically, temporarily, to the country of origin, fill out the paperwork, and then obtain a green card and come right back. I'm fine with that. But the process matters. You can't just allow that person who entered your home, sat on the couch, you can't just allow him to stay there because you don't know who that person is. You don't know if he's running from the law. You don't know if he's a child molester. You don't know if he's done something wrong in the prior place that he lived. So why would you let him live in your house? You wouldn't. And I know time tells the story in terms of people's character. I understand that, but that's not the point. If we reward improper behavior, bad behavior, this isn't necessarily bad, but it's improper behavior, then the whole system breaks down, and that's where we are today. The system is broken. And so I'm not saying it has to be that person's not a danger per se. Does that person need to be deported? Yes, in my opinion. However, there's an asterisk there. If they're established like this and they have a life and a wife and a child and all that kind of stuff, they're still illegal. This matter needs to be taken care of. It's just my humble opinion, and it needs to be done the right way. And that is, if he's from Mexico, he's from Mazatlan, send him back to Mazatlan, fill out the paperwork, be in Mazatlan for a week, reconnect, relax on the beach, fill out the paperwork, you're back with a green card, you're legal. That's the way I think we need to do it. Bill writes, I think President Trump is making a top 10 2025 cartel homes scrapbook. I think I understand what Bill is saying. Complete with names of the owners, names of their organization, addresses, beautiful pictures, GPS coordinates. Okay, I think Bill is being just a little bit sarcastic, maybe a little bit tongue-in-cheek. And what Bill is referring to is that Donald Trump is putting the hammer down to Mexico and Canada, but Mexico in this case, and is shutting down the border and is effectively going to war with the cartels. Now, this is where I would insist Mexico plays a part, because anybody who knows Mexico knows that the federales down there are impotent at best, useless, and they need to start being useful. In other words, your own police force, federales are the internal police force in Mexico, federal, and many times you go down to Mexico and very, very young kids are holding these guns that are they're longer than their bodies. And so, and then they have a checkpoint, and they'll say, I forget what they're looking. They're looking for drugs. They're looking for mordida. You know what mordida means? Mordida in Espanol means the bite, and the bite is the vig, the under the table dinero. Okay, money. They're looking for drugs and they're looking for money, but the money they want to put in their pocket, the drugs they want to put you in jail for. A little of both is like a perfect thing. Actually, they probably just take the mordida. In any case, Mexico needs to regain control of itself because it's not policing itself. How in the wide world of sports are you allowing these cartels to run roughshod in Monterrey or in these other provinces in Mexico to the point where our State Department tells Americans don't go there? I mean, that's pretty bad. And even Cancun is in part, from time to time, the aforementioned Mazatlan has got a drug cartel problem. Mexico needs to clean that up. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's like when the cartel started beheading a few people and hanging bodies off bridges in Tijuana. The cross-border traffic of Americans going down there just went bye-bye. Now it's back to normal or worse. It's pretty lengthy getting back across the border as a gringo. But the bottom line is TJ and Rosarito and Ensenada, they kind of overcame all that over time. But Mexico has got a PR problem, and it's got a safety problem. And if it relies on the gringos, then they better do something. And this is a great place to start, right? So I would bring that, if I was Donald Trump, I would bring that front and center. Hey, you need to have your federales do their jobs and not just set up a checkpoint harassing gringos for mordida. You know, that doesn't make any sense. That's not helping the situation. You need to go after these cartels. And yeah, you want help? Okay, we'll give you help. Here's the help we'll give you, X, Y, and Z. I don't think it's a great idea to put our personnel in harm's way. I don't know what those drug cartels are capable of. I'm very intimidated by them. But the bottom line is, this should be all on the table with Mexico, and everything on the table with Canada as well. And it's not about just because we think Canadians are arrogant, which they are. It's because we want to have a good neighbor, and we want to have good relations, and we want to have fair, level playing field, which we don't have right now. Bob writes, by the way, you can chat at me on YouTube in the right column. You can ask me a question. I will answer it real time. Or you can make a comment, like, I love your jacket, even though it's a little bit loud for me. Bob writes, why in the hell are you not on Fox or Newsmax? I think you're as good or better than a lot of those hosts. Anyway, that's my opinion. Good luck, God bless. Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. I'm having fun doing this, even if I only have 2 people watching. I miss certain elements of being, front and center in a studio, and the lights, and the going live, and like we're doing now, with no net and no script, which I'm doing now. So, there are a lot of aspects of that I miss, but I don't miss the rat race of it, and I don't miss the politics of it. And it's a grind, Bob. I mean, it's a real grind. When I was doing the program on One America News, I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning every day, and I'm not bitching about it. Okay, I'm not. But that does wear on you after 10, 12 years of doing that. It does. And, I didn't have a lot of help in doing my program, so most of the weight fell on my shoulders. And again, that's wears on you after a while. So the fact that, I can do one show like this a week and chat with you, it's wonderful. That's what I miss, is the interaction with you. And that's why I'm trying to do this live with you, because I want real-time feedback. I want you to chat. And I know this is going to take some time for people to get used to and build a habit. I'm trying to pick the best time for this program. And Joe writes to me, please keep up the good work and continue your broadcast. One suggestion, could you keep to a schedule for broadcasting? And that's what I'm trying to do, Joe. I'm trying to keep one schedule here, and right now it's 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. And I'm going to try and stick to it. I'm going to go on vacation here and there, but I'm going to try and stick to it, unless you folks want me to change. And if you want me to change if I get enough votes to change it to somewhere else or some other time, I'll do it, or day. So you can send me an email at grahamledger411@gmail.com, grahamledger411@gmail.com. And that's a very good way to get a hold of me. One other email, I miss you. This is from Keith. I miss you on OANN. Well, as I mentioned, what I miss more than anything else is being able to speak at you every night. I do miss that a lot. But I don't miss the rat race, and I don't miss the politics. And there's a lot of politics behind that camera when you are working at a network, whether it is One America News or whether it is Fox or CNN. By the way, what do you think of this? And I'd love to hear real time. I keep telling my buddy Special Ed that right now, if you look at CNN, what I would do, I would love, if anybody's watching from CNN, this is one job I would take, to take the reins of CNN and turn it into a straight, no opinion news channel again. Its roots, the way Ted Turner had it, remember? And just report the news. CNN has the foundation, it has the legacy, it has the infrastructure to do exactly that. So you get rid of all these so-called genius left-wing pundits and you leave in place the reporters. And even if some of these reporters lean left, I would say to them, look, you got one shot at this. And if we see you leaning left in any of your reporting, you're going to be fired. And you're going to be replaced by some intern with 2 weeks experience. And that's basically, and just put on anchors. Not even me. I wouldn't even volunteer to do that, okay? Because I'm already branded. I'm tainted. I am who I am. But I would put young people on there and I would train them and I would say, look, your job is to report the news. I think if I remember right, CNN had a satellite channel, if you remember this. It was called Headline News. And if I remember correctly, the news anchor was a gentleman by the name of Chuck Roberts. Am I right on that? Somebody check me on that. And he would just get up there and he would read the news and he would toss to reporters or packages or whatever, and they would do the news. And I would do weather in there also, because weather is big. And I would have a dedicated weather chicks and dudes. And so I would just do news and weather. Because also, by the way, weather is news many times, right? When we had all this snow, when you have a hurricane, when you have a tornado or what have you, that is news. So that the two go hand in glove. Not trying to compete with the Weather Channel, but hey, one-stop shopping, CNN, the new CNN would be just news, straight news. Straight news. At the White House today, President Trump signed an executive order to put maximum pressure on Iran. He also said that he left standing orders, and by the way, this is the truth. This isn't Grammy just hyperboling. Apparently, President Trump gave standing orders that if Iran were to ever assassinate him, God forbid, I mean really, God forbid, why are we even talking about this? But this was reported. And I think I heard President Trump say this himself, that if, God forbid, Iran ever assassinates Donald Trump, that he left standing orders for J.D. Vance to wipe Iran off the map. Now, whether J.D. Vance would follow through with that, I have my doubts, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is that's the report, right? So Donald Trump signs an executive order, maximum pressure on Iran, and by the way, he left standing orders that if he were ever to be taken out by Iran, to wipe it off the map. He also met with Benjamin Netanyahu today, where President Trump is saying that the United States needs to take ownership of Gaza. Oh, I love that. I just love that. It's America first. And, if you don't like it, then leave it. President Trump has made that clear, by the way, too. He said the other day, I heard him saying, if you hate this country, then leave. It's a free country, at least partially. Go ahead and leave. So, the United States of Gaza, what would you call that? I guess it would be not unlike Guam or Puerto Rico, where it would be kind of a territory, or maybe you make it a city-state kind of thing. I don't know. Obviously, Israel's got a factor in there somehow, some way. But wouldn't that be fascinating, where the United States takes that $250 billion that Elon Musk has found of waste, fraud, and abuse just from the overpayments of the Biden administration alone. So you take that $250 billion and who owns Gaza? Is Israel? I don't know who owns Gaza. It must be. I think that's Israeli property, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is. So I guess you give $250 billion to Benjamin Netanyahu, and then off we go. Off we go, building the Trump Tower of Gaza. So please don't forget to, during the time that we're not together, please send me email at grahamledger411@gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Or if you want to chat live when we do this, and we can continue to talk about Trump National Gaza, because I think, you know what? Donald Trump doesn't just float ideas out there like the mainstream media insinuates he does. Donald Trump, when he starts talking about something, it means it's going to happen, just like the tariffs. He mentioned those ad nauseum on the campaign trail, and sure enough, boom, here they go, and into China, same thing. And by the way, China's coming to the table because of their tariffs. So if he's talking about building a Trump national, he's not. But he's talking about the United States taking ownership of Gaza. I think you should take it seriously, and I think we should take it seriously. I'm Graham Ledger, and remember, evil can only prevail when good is silent.